You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo or honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker out there, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. Listen, I'm going to dare you to do it. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs that you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and then grab a few more napkins and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
So what are we moving on to? More game day talk or
No.
lowercase g game day talk?
Yeah, lowercase g. Did you see the sheet?
No, I haven't looked at the sheet.
And the Gmail?
I'm about to open. I can open it up right now, but
Okay.
please continue.
No, that's it.
Oh, okay.
That's what we're going to.
I'll open it up right now. Scroll to the bottom. All right. Cool.
All right. So,
Transition.
all right. Why my headphones sound so weird? Okay. All right. I'm going to transition us in 3, 2, 1. All right. We are moving from the highest of highs, which was Rob's game day experience, as he described as perfect, just perfect. And we are going to transition to the football game, which I would describe as not perfect. I see you found that particularly humorous, Rob, judging by the zero laughter that came from you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about the beginning of the game.
Okay.
The beginning of the game, I had this thought in the middle. First of all, actually, before I go to that, the stadium was electric.
Sold out crowd.
I know we had a sold out crowd in the big game 2 years ago. I don't even think it comes close to comparing. I haven't felt that energy in the stadium since 2007 Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could throw in 2007 Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
But that was phenomenal. The amount of times that Diana caught me looking and just being, I wasn't even paying attention to the game. I was staring at the people that were at the top of the stadium standing up. I just hadn't seen it in that long.
Yeah.
I had not seen when they had the top row standing section in so long in Memorial Stadium. It was super special.
You were taking in the vibes.
I was taking in the vibes, just like you at game day.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I did that, how many times I tried to get a panoramic picture, despite the fact that my phone is gray. I can't even really get any joy out of looking at it. I could not get over the scene. The scene was spectacular. Spectacular.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of all the things that the East Bay had been robbed of from sports teams wise. I think it was just so special, such a cool environment. Now, I had this thought in the game that we were living the NCAA football 2025, 2024. I don't know
25.
which 25. That like we were literally living a live simulation of when you like take over Cal and you play as Cal. We had game day. We had a sold out crowd. We had the Warriors announcer.
Who's been
PA,
there? Who's been there?
He's been there?
Yeah, he's been there.
Oh, well, I didn't notice till Saturday. It was super cool to have all of that. And I just think like it was literally living the simulation. I could see it when I used to play NCAA myself, and when they would have the little video clip of Corso and he'd put on his, mascot head. I'm like, we've had game day. Game day was here. We're smacking Miami. We're having a drone show over the stadium. We got the alumni band here. We got the Cal band doing their thing, doing the formations and moving like the Ohio State band does. I mean, it was just so sick. Everything was so dope. We had no cards, so we didn't get any 15-yard penalties from the student section. Student section was like overflowing into 3 sections. I mean, it was a gigantic scene, especially knowing that Jim Phillips was there. I'm sure he didn't love our fans randomly booing the ACC logo that the drones made, which I love the Pac-12. Why the hell are we booing the ACC?
I don't know.
They saved us.
I don't know.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Stop booing. But yeah, we were living the NCAA game out in real life. And I know we lost Florida State, but you're still 3-1. You're up against Miami. You go in at halftime. Oh my gosh, that was so good. I couldn't wait to stand up and just like yell for the players after that first half and just see them come off the field so hyped, so pumped up, pumping up the crowd. It was amazing. And the only negative that I actually have to talk about, which is very minor, was that the drone show took too long in my eyes. And what it prevented was it prevented us and the fans. When Miami came out on the field, the players, I booed, but it was in the middle of the drone show. So I think people were confused as to why I was booing. I was booing because Miami players were back out on the field. And I think that's like one of the things that as a diehard fan, like I noticed that, where I wanted our stands to let Miami know that, hey, we're still here paying attention. It's late for you guys. We're still here paying attention. We're going to boo you when you come out. And then the same thing when our players came out, like no one really cheered because, again, drone show is still kind of like going on. And we also go into the stretch. It would also have been smart, I think, to have the coaching staff maybe not go into the stretch, maybe have them come out and like hype up the crowd a little bit more and then get into the stretch routine. Just like small little details that like how you play into that type of crowd environment. I think if we were to have that environment again, like something that we could hopefully be aware of. That's my scene. It is really 35-10. Immaculate. 35-10 in the third quarter. Pick 6. I was like, I think I'm going to be right. I told everyone. What's going to happen? Okay, Cal's going to win. Like, oh, okay, cool. Andy joke. No. We're going to win this game. As I said, I'd never wavered. Mario always loses one. This is the one. He's going to lose this game. And, oh, man, 35-10. 35. I will never forget. Diana, I was having the best time. My buddy Juanito was having the best time. I think, and I told Diana this, I was like, that is as good of a game that you can come to that I've been to in the last 15 years. Hands down. Keep in mind, I have to go pick up my kid halfway through the third quarter, right? So my snapshot is 3 quarters.
You got the best part of the game.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I left, and so at that point, I sort of go, okay, well, it's 35-10. I think we got this. I didn't say it out loud. I would never say that out loud. Don't get me wrong. I got a text. I'm not even going to say who it was from. It was the most inexcusable text of all time. It said, "When was the last time we rushed the field?" I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious right now?
Not yet.
How dare
Not
you
yet.
send that in the third quarter? Ridiculous. And I was also like, come on. We rushed the field like every single year against Stanford.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
So, but Rob, you were on the field. So
Yeah.
before I kind of go into the other part of this football game, well, I mean, what was going through your head 35-10, or even just like at halftime when we came out and, they go down the field in the first drive, right? And I believe they scored, and it was like, oh, damn, that was pretty easy. And then, that Jaden Ott fourth down play, oh my goodness. What was going on with you?
I mean, even up until your point, right? Like, was it you that I told, or was it someone else? That on the Miami podcast, like, my prediction score was 35-17. And I was close. Like, I was right there. Like, really, really right there to get that prediction right.
It was spot on. Spot on.
Yeah. So from 35-10, I was like, it's like halfway through the third quarter. Some guy next to me is like asking me about what protocol is if like the field is rushed, regarding photographers and things like that. Which, look, he's asking me from a job perspective so he can get ready for it. And, if he needs to go and get some batteries or other things beforehand, I totally get it. Because that's not a fan talking. That's just what I've never been in this situation. What do I need to do to prep myself for it? Totally understandable. And so, I just explained to him, it's like, I would probably just wait until that first wave goes in first, step behind them, let them go, because otherwise you're just going to get trampled. And then, if you want to get shots inside, you can kind of, just shove your way in, and then take pictures from the middle or take pictures from the outside. And I was like, it won't be that bad. They'll make sure, the staff and the security will make sure it's not like too crazy. And just gave him that explanation. But I did look at him, and I still remember saying this to him. I said, look, if they score one more time before the third quarter's over, this game's not over. And I was like, but if we can maintain this lead going into the fourth quarter and maybe get one more score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown, I think that's a wrap. But if they get one more score in this quarter, it's not over. Not by any stretch of the means. And I was right. It was not over. But for me, in terms of on the field, like, I knew it was going to be loud. So I put my earplugs in that I bought for Auburn. And every once in a while, just like you, just to take in some of the sights, I took my earplugs out just because I wanted to get the full grasp of it. But for the most of the time, like, I needed the because I've been on that field a bunch with it being a full crowd, and my ears are ringing until Monday evening. So I put those in, and it kills it like 25 decibels. So I was like, I'm in a good spot. I can still hear everything. They're not like plugged. They like filter in sound. But it was, I mean, I rented a couple lenses for this game too, and for game day, and playing around with that and getting some, far shots. I got some sick pictures. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, when Jaden takes off and he gets that touchdown in the end zone and he celebrates with the cheerleaders, I have a picture of that, and I'm the only photographer that got a picture of that because I was the only one with the angle. So I have a picture of Jaden not dancing with the cheerleaders, and then also like exiting the circle of cheerleaders with a pom pom in his hand. And so, like, I think that was just like, it just added to it, right? It's like, oh, this feels like it's it. There, Miami wasn't really doing anything. We stopped them in key moments. We always talked about our explosive plays, and we were getting them. And we were scoring with trick plays and at will, and, substitute quarterbacks coming in and rushing in for touchdowns. And like, Mike Blesh just threw the entire playbook, the kitchen sink at the wall to try and get this victory out. And it certainly looked like that for a very long time. But, much like what we say on this pod, right? If you give a talented team even an inkling of a chance to get back in it, they're going to get back in it. And it's somewhat kind of, despite the chasm that the score was of 35-10, there was a thing in my mind of like, just don't give them any opportunities, because in my mind, their talent level at least ceiling wise, is a lot higher than ours. So if you give them a couple of moments, what's to say they won't produce like a DJU moment, right? Like just that one pass, that one scramble that shows off their athleticism, and that just dismantled our team. And that's exactly what happened in the fourth quarter, right? That Restrepo, even on that game-winning drive for Miami, that Restrepo catch, the Cam Ward scramble into the end zone for the touchdown, there were just so many things and moments of that sort where we kept them under lock for so long, but their talent showed in those 1-2 key moments where they needed to make a play, and they just happened to make them.
That time zone really didn't end up mattering, huh?
It looked like it might have, but then I think the moment they kind of felt like we can get back in this, the energy on that sideline just erupted. Yeah.
Look, it's it's up there, if not the worst loss I've ever endured as a Cal fan.
SC last year more than this, or this is more than SC last year.
This is showing how bad my memory is. What happened against SC last year?
It was the shootout, and then we tried to convert the 2-point conversion at the end, didn't convert, and we lost by a point.
Yeah, this hurt way more.
Oh, okay.
Do you think SC hurt more?
I wasn't at the SC game, so I didn't. I was at a wedding, remember? So like I don't have the same emotional connection to that game as everyone else who was at that game.
Fair enough.
And plus, it was the last time we were playing SC, right? So I think that was the big one for me.
It's concerning to me that you easily went to another one that was similar enough. And I think that's not great for our buddy JW.
Yeah.
I can't think of any loss that hurts me this bad other than Oregon State of 2007. Maybe Oregon when Giorgio had the infamous false start and they were number 1 and we were going to upset them. That was someone else mentioned that to me. That's a good one. But I don't know, Rob. This one
stings.
35-10. It's the hope that kills you. The hope that kills you.
It is.
And none of us as fans should have to hope that your team's going to win at 35-10. It should be an expectation.
Which I think it was. And that's why I think the letdown was more severe.
And to your point, well, look, before we go into this, because we're going to go into the actual game.
All right.
And I'm going to talk about a couple of things that I just think there's no excuses for. I'm just going to say, I joke around and say, okay, all of the serotonin left my body after this game and I was devoid of a soul. And like, that's sort of like where I've been at. And I woke up the next day and to your point, the Niners did the same exact thing. And it just kind of goes to show that this happens at the pro level. It's not as extreme. And that's the beauty of college football. We talked about it. It's imperfect. Mm-hmm. These things can happen. 25-point leads don't usually get blown at the pro level. It's a little bit more common in college football for a comeback like that to happen. But I wanted to make sure that I said this on the podcast, and hopefully one day at some point Eva will hear this. But as a parent, and because I talk about being a parent a lot on this podcast, I wanted to say this here. And I think that one of the things that I thought about on Sunday was that as a dad, I found that, and as a parent, but most of the time in my daughter's 18 months of life, that she's needed me more than I've needed her. I've needed to provide for her to, get what she needed to move on through the day. And Sunday, I needed her more than she needed me. And she delivered in an incredible way where she's 18 months. She's not carrying any of the Cal loss with her.
Sure.
She's not carrying any negativity. She's
Yeah.
approaching the day with smiles and optimism and energy and enthusiasm. And her dad is just moping around like a depressed lunatic because his team blew a 25-point lead in the third quarter. So it made me immensely grateful as a parent to have something like that in my life that could flip the script and say, this too shall pass, despite how low I felt. And I will tell you, I mean, I couldn't watch the Niners game. I texted the Niners thread and said, I am not watching today. I cannot handle football for a little while. And then the Niners game happened, and I said, you know what? I might take a couple weeks off of football. It was quite the
That's what you texted me. You texted me that exact same thing too.
I mean, I am going camping this weekend in a dome by a river in the middle of nowhere. I'm not kidding. There's going to be a break, and I hope that it can restore the optimism. But I kind of want to pause there and then see if we can transition over to a stat readout from the game, Rob, unless you want to talk a little bit more just like the emotional roller coaster of the game.
Yeah, I don't think we really need to go through a stat readout. I feel like we can just talk mostly about the game. Yeah, the emotional roller coaster for sure. It's weird for me, right? Nick has tweeted that once or has said it to me in person once, but he said, like, has Rob achieved like this level of zen regarding Cal football because like he's on the field like taking pictures? And I think after this game, I tweeted it out. I was like, I think there might be something to what you're saying, because my emotional level was, holy shit, we're going to do this. We're going to upset a top 10 team after the vibes were so good. Like, we just cannot lose. Then that led to, oh crap, they're making the comeback. Like, please, I just need defense. I just need one stop. Just give me one. Just give me one.
Just one.
Just give me one. I just need one.
4th and 6. 4th and 10. 3rd and 18 from the 3rd and goal from the 18. Like, come on. Just
one. Just give me one.
Honestly, dude, it wasn't even a stop. They just needed a field goal instead of a touchdown. That was literally it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they weren't going to go for field goals at that point. They needed to go for the end zone, right?
I think if it was early enough, it might have made some game sense, but yes.
Yeah. So it's just, and then the anxiety started to build, and I was like, oh my God, I honestly just want this game to be over. Like that came in the fourth quarter, and on that final drive when we punted and they got the ball and they were running out of the field. In my mind, I'm just like, I just need this game to end. Like, I cannot handle this anxiety. I think if the game was going back and forth, my anxiety level wouldn't be as high. But it's the fact that it was 35-10 and they're like, one touchdown. Like, it just started to come back. I was like, oh my God, this is going to pain me. And then the game ended. So I spent that final drive sitting on the field next to one of the ESPN cameras that are like on a pedestal, like, you know, with the big zoom. I literally sat on the field, leaned up against it, like just watching down the field as Miami marched further and further away from me.
In the first play.
Basically on the first play. And I'm just sitting there watching. Matt Haas actually standing right next to me as well. And I'm just watching this happen. They score. And I'm like, oh, well, that's it. And then I'm like, all right, I'll believe for a little bit. I'll be believe for a little bit. And we had 26 seconds, I believe, left on the clock. And then Nando trots back out there, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's the right move. Like, Nando got wrecked on that.
He's concussed.
On that targeting play that should have been targeting, that the entire world believes is targeting, except for Miami fans.
There are people that don't believe that's targeting?
Yeah, there's people I saw on Twitter. There were people that were saying that shouldn't be called targeting because it was a pivotal moment in the game.
Oh, let me tell you, targeting. I mean, have we ever? We're often wrong, more often than not. The one thing we've been right about is saying that the targeting rule is completely jump the shark. That is the dumbest fucking rule in college football. It makes no sense. There's nobody has any idea if what it is, and the players clearly don't have any idea. And it's not being enforced to promote anything. It's actually the dumbest shit of all time. It doesn't make any sense. It's not serving anyone in a positive way. And the entire NCAA, which has a laundry list of things to be ashamed of, this ranks very highly for me because it's ruining the integrity of the game. And here's the thing. I don't really care about that call because, yeah, they got it wrong. But guess what? We were up 25 in the third quarter. We should not have to rely on a targeting call when our quarterback scrambles, isn't even close to getting a first down, puts his life on the line, and gets absolutely wrecked. We shouldn't have to rely on the refs to make the call there when you're up 25. You just shouldn't.
No, you don't. No. And I think that's the distinction that most Cal fans were making was like, yes, it was a pivotal moment in the game, but that's not the reason we lost. And we're not saying that if that call had been changed, we would have won, like, or won handedly. Like, we're just saying in a vacuum for that one specific play, I think everyone has to be in agreement that it's targeting because it checks off both of
Every
the
box.
of the requisites of what it is. Like the two biggest ones are forcible contact to the head or neck area, or leading with the crown of your helmet. The dude led with the crown of his helmet and landed it straight into Mendoza's neck.
Well, that and then also the other piece is that you're launching instead of tapping.
Yeah.
And he did that as well. I mean, it was. I thought it was targeting when I initially saw it.
Yep.
And
the review even showed it was even clear.
The review, I was like, this is clear cut. The ACC make any comment on this?
No. So I actually saw from a friend of ours, Christian, who worked with the Notre Dame sports information department. So she said the process is, and this isn't going to really get closure for Cal fans in any means because it doesn't change the outcome of the game. But teams are allowed to submit, and this is when she was there, and so it's been a while. She was there when Manti Te'o was there, but so rules might have changed. But when she was there, you would submit like appeals for certain calls. Those appeals would be heard by the NCAA or the ACC or whatever conference. Then said conference would go through and deem if it was the right call or the wrong call, all that. Then what happens is a point deduction or a point addition is made to those refs for either making a blatantly bad call or making a good call or whatever. And from that, you are designated further games. So if this process plays out, how it would work for Cal is we submit an appeal for that play. ACC or NCAA would look at it. If they deem that it was an egregiously bad call, they would put negative points on that ref, which means that ref would not be able to referee bigger games down the road, like the ACC championship game or a college football playoff game or a big bowl game. So I know it doesn't change the outcome of the game, but that's what she said the process is. If you want a little bit of justice.
I just don't understand. Like, who is the ref? It's the replay ref, not the one that's looking at the tape. But the thing that's confusing to me is in the Miami Virginia Tech game, we talked about how the review went back to the ACC for them to review. So is it not that targeting play was going back there? It took. The weird thing about it too was it seemed like it took a long time.
Yeah.
And then it looked like the ref was actually done reviewing, and then it was called back.
Yeah. So I don't know what the actual ACC rule is, but I think the reason that the main ref looks at that is to determine if it is. I think the replay official can call into those refs and be like, hey, you might want to look at this play. I think that's the decision that they can make, but they can't. I think the ref on the field has to make the call of whether it is a targeting or not, which is why they're looking at that screen and they have that little clicker because they can go forward and backwards.
That's
and
that's
watch
so
in real time.
stupid. Why wouldn't it be? Why I don't understand. Like if you have it in the MLB, where if you have a call like that, it goes to a group of people that are looking at it. Why wouldn't you have the same thing? Why would it come down to one person? Like, what if that one person had interest in the game?
I think that's a very good question. I think let's see. I think
It just seems so silly to me that you would have single perspective.
I think
especially at that time, and like every referee came together after that call as well, and seemed to be talking about it.
Yeah,
and so the whole thing is puzzling to me.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my thing. I think there's the two sides of it. Is one is, to your point, having one guy on it versus a group of people determining whether something is targeting seems more efficient and faster, since they'll be watching it on the replay booth in real time. I think that makes a lot of sense. The opposite version of that argument is, would we want a third party who is not at the game making decisions influencing what is happening on the field in the game, like overriding what a referee saw or called on the field?
I mean, I don't know. Baseball goes to New York.
Yeah.
I don't know what football does.
But baseball goes to New York because it covers all of Major League Baseball.
Correct.
I don't know how you would do that with college. Does it
I would
just go
do it by conference?
Do it by conference? That makes sense. That makes sense.
Once
again, we don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. The idea that it comes down to, I see your point. Somebody that's closer to, but on the field, but I think you have to remove the bias, because the point isn't, hey, let's go see what Mr. Referee thought he saw and confirm whether or not that is true. It needs to be, in objectivity, is this correct or incorrect? You know what I mean? Like, it's not to confirm someone's pre-existing belief or perspective. It's in absence of, it's in a vacuum where you don't have that, and you don't have, that's where I think the call has to be made. Is it the right call or is it the wrong call? It's not to me as important as, I don't know, is like understanding the game flow or what they saw on the field. Again, I mean, the entire thing is broken. It's just broken. And it didn't matter. It did. But at the end of the day, Rob, like, I think if we gave Miami the ball with 17 seconds, I think they were going to score. And I know that's ludicrous to say, but I think they did. Because guess what? They were on the 6. And the first play, they got a 70-yard pass to their best wide receiver, who was wide open.
Our defense
was absolutely gassed. And that was the one thing that I got to give credits to the comment section of Right for California, because somebody shouted that out, was talking about time of possession. I think it might have been Rugbear, actually, OG poster on there, who just said, and a lot of people are saying, this looks like Andy Buzz defense. And you know what I say to that? That's because it had a lot of similarities to that. When we at halftime, I remember being like, wow, we're dominating. And then the time of possession popped up on the screen. I think it was something crazy. 17-7, I don't know, 24-7. It was nuts. I'm not really sure exactly what it was, but I remember seeing it and audibly saying, whoa, time of possession is way in favor of Miami. We got to get that fixed. And we did not get that fixed. And this goes to my point, which is what I wrote down for a topic. Where the hell is our running game? Like, it's mind-blowing to me that we cannot sustain. We needed to sustain a drive that, I don't care if we went 3 and out after 3 first downs. That's literally all we needed. We would have won that game.
We needed just a sustained drive. It didn't need to result in points at that point.
We just needed, and that is the team that we had last year. The team that we had last year could grind out games. The team of Wilcox past eras of when we were ahead of Stanford and we needed to get a win. We ground out those wins on the ground. And I'm kind of with you. I thought Chandler Rogers should have played the rest of the game. I don't know if you were saying that, but from my perspective,
that's what kind of I was alluding to. Yeah.
what we needed there was we needed to have the quarterback that could be a running threat as well as a throwing threat. But I cannot even begin to understand how we said that this team's identity was going to be built behind the line, and it was going to be built in the trenches, and we don't have that. We don't have anything close to that, and it's cost us 2 wins. We should be 5-0. There's no excuse for not being 5-0. Florida State is bad. Auburn is bad. San Diego State is bad. Our strength of schedule is as good as it's ever been, and we're 3-2. I mean, this is.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it once we look ahead to the future of the schedule a little bit. But I mean, I think all those points are valid, and I have the same concerns. The guys in the Right for Cal Discord, like the writers, like we talk about this literally after the game on Saturday and Sunday, and one of the things that Peter wrote is just like, I think the biggest thing that's hurting us right now is the downgrade that we've gotten in terms of production at left tackle. I think Barrett Miller coming in from Stanford last year was a lot better than we expected him to be. Peter kind of puts him as either average left tackle in college football or a little bit above average. But right now, Nick Morrow is growing into that role, right? He's the starter. Like he's never started at that position before, and he's only 5 games in to his collegiate career. And we're rolling with those growing pains. And that's why I think that's suffered a little bit in terms of the run game. And then also with pass pro on that side. And we were going to have to live with that. The other issue was like, why are we, in terms of just the play calling, I still don't understand, with of course the nuance of I'm not the one that's calling plays or doing the game planning, but like I still don't understand why we want to push the ball between the tackles so much. I mean, you saw that, I think, was it the second to last drive that we had where Jet goes on an outside zone run?
Yeah.
And he takes it upfield. And I looked at Matt Ha and I looked at one of the Cal photographers and I go, just freaking run outside zone all day. We have the speed. Set the edge with TJ Sessions on that right side and just have them cut upfield the rest of the day. But then right after that play, we run between the tackles twice.
Yeah, I know.
And Jet gets nothing.
Nothing. And that set up the Fernando, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that set up the Fernando targeting. Right. So that's just like, that's what was mind-blowing to me.
And Javian, that was another one of those arm tackles that he almost got through. I mean, and there was daylight on the outside run that you're talking about.
Yeah. So, it's like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how to answer that question when you say where the hell is the ground game, because I don't know either. I'm still searching for it. Look, there's also a thing regarding that I kind of want to ask you and allude to, because have you watched GameDay back at all? Like the show? No? Okay. So early in the morning, Pete Demel is on there and he's going through an updates of players. And he actually gives an update on Jaden Ott. But the line that got me thinking was, he says that this is the first time that Jaden Ott will be 100% healthy.
I saw that in the ticker.
Yeah. I was very confused. Because we know he's been hurt, right? We've seen the brace on his leg. Like, he wasn't 100% at Auburn. He wasn't 100% at Florida State. We held him out of San Diego State. But, like, does that mean he wasn't healthy for Davis as well? Like, because if that's the case, then I could see why if this was his first real game back 100% healthy, that, even though he scored 2 tutties, like, he wasn't fully effective. And maybe that's why they didn't really want to run in between the tackles too much. And just to
7
worry
attempts for 2 yards.
Yeah. maybe that's why what it was. But it just got me thinking. Like I was like, Pete the Mel's not going to get that wrong. He's not going to get that wording wrong.
No.
So for him to say that was just like a little bit eye opening.
The thing is, Rob, that there's something about why did Harbaugh win at Michigan? Like, what did Harbaugh do at Michigan that allowed them to come back, to be back?
Offensive line,
but like, can we go bigger picture than that? He went back to what Michigan football was about.
Right.
Smash mouth football, won in the trenches. He reestablished that identity. And there was something to me that really stood out about game day. Who was the person that we had picking? Marshawn Lynch. We have a legacy of running backs that have been unbelievably successful. Going back before J.J. Arrington, we can go to Echimandu, who was also hell of good in college and also played in the league. We have a legacy of running backs that have been world class. And we have not seemingly been able to find that other than Jaden Ott. And Jaden, whether he's hurt or not, has looked pedestrian. Other than that fourth down play. The fourth down play where he like looks back a couple of times.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's clear he has the speed, but he's not like, who I miss Afonso. Because Afonso could run between the tackles.
Yeah, we don't have a dude who can run between the tackles.
And he would always get positive yards. Always. Like, I mean, I know that's not true, but it seemed like he could bounce and shed that first tackler.
I mean,
and that's Marshawn. Like, we need to go. Like, why are we so far away from who we are? Let's be who we are.
Look. Jaden, we all know what he is when he is electric. And if the case was this was actually his real first game back 100%, then I feel like we'll see a different version of him come this week at Pitt. Because he probably got his game legs back and his conditioning finally back after literally a month off.
Now, did he get hurt during the game, though? Because he didn't come back in any critical play towards the end of the game.
We'll find out at the media presser tomorrow. But yeah, look, my thing with running backs, and running backs say the same thing, right? And this is not to deflect blame off of the inability to run. But much like Harbaugh, much like Cristobal, especially when Cristobal was at Oregon, they recruit the hell out of offensive and defensive lines. Because they know that dominating the line of scrimmage and being able to reestablish the line of scrimmage on offense and defense determines how good your offense can be on a consistent level in the 2 to 3 yard gains or the 2 to 3 yard pushbacks. I think the last 2 games, right, here and at Florida State, I think showed that deficiency. Showed that we, as much as we've brought in talent, we're still not at that level to take on like elite level athletes. And like Ruben Bain Jr., who came back from injury for Florida State, I don't think he had a really good stat line, but looked good. And that defensive line for Miami looked very, very good. So that's where we need to improve. I think we can get back to that run game. I think that's probably why we brought in Blesh to be the offensive line coach. I think that's why we put him as the offensive coordinator, with that, to establish that part of it. But until we can get the guys that can win one-on-one blocking assignments, like against these types of elite teams, it's always going to be a rough fight. We always talk about how athleticism masks a bit of coaching deficiencies, right? But if you don't have that, then what can mask the athleticism? It's going to be execution. And we suffered on that side against Miami. I don't think our execution and our blocking was that great. Like, we cleaned up what we wanted to clean up against Florida State, right? Which was pre-snap penalties. Mm-hmm. The communication between the line. I think that was all solved, right? But we just couldn't execute the plays properly and get the guys enough space to make the runs that were necessary. And I don't know if that's fixable in a single season. Like, I don't know if it's fixable during the season. But shoot, like, maybe getting Vadakani back, who didn't play, but Wilcox said earlier in the week was probable to play, right? So I'm hoping he's ready to go for Pitt. Maybe it's just one of those situations where we can get him back, who is our best run blocker and probably our best O lineman on the line. I think the second thing to that kind of sucks right now is we don't have a legitimate deep home run threat. We don't have a guy that can take the top off of defense. The safeties can sit, I think, 20 yards out if they're running a too high safety look and not be really afraid of anyone going past them over the top. I think our wide receivers are good, the ones we have right now, but a lot of them are possession receivers and very good route runners. But we don't have a guy who could just send him down the seam and force the safeties to make a decision or take away one of those guys. We don't have that. I think those guys were going to be Tobias Merriweather and Keon Grace, but they haven't seen the field yet. And I thought maybe Trevor could sneak into that role too, but I think they're trying to preserve his red shirt for as long as they can. And so, you get 4 games, right? So maybe we see him later in the season. But we just don't have that type of guy that just goes, all right, we read the defense. It's man coverage on the outside. It's one-on-one. Send him on a go route, and he beats the corner, and now they have to worry about him for the rest of the day. Like, we don't have that guy on the roster, which means all of us know football enough, then you're one-dimensional. You're going to sit more in the box because you know that they can't take the top off of you, or drag a safety down because you know they're not going to take the top off of you. And then we struggle. It's just that's just where it is. And it just becomes way too one-dimensional.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I think that this entire season, I hate to say it, it's just going to go into the halls of Bancroft Library as another what if, man.
I don't think we're there yet, and I guess we can talk about. I think we can talk about your thing.
We are there, my friend.
Panic, not panic. Are we moving on to that next segment?
Yeah, let's go.
Because I feel like we're right there. Because you're in panic mode.
I'm not.
Because if you're saying that this is a redo of What If, then you're kind of in that panic mode, right? Because I'm in the not panic mode. I'm like, we can wait and see. I think we can wait and see.
I think we could win 8 games. I think we still will have a legitimate shot at hitting the amount that I predicted preseason. The rest of our schedule besides Pitt is cupcake. We're talking about NC State, Oregon State, Syracuse, Stanford, SMU. Did I miss anyone?
No, after Wake Forest.
Oh, and Wake Forest. Oh, yeah, nothing.
That's a trap game. But anyways.
I mean, it's all there. And it's kind of what Wilcox does. But there's no way you can't tell me this isn't a what-if season. Especially knowing how bad Auburn is. And how bad Florida State is. Florida State has
But we didn't lose to Auburn. We beat Auburn. I don't know how that can be a what-if game if we beat them. As we should.
I say it's a what-if because the schedule has become easier than we would have anticipated.
Right. I'm just saying like, it can't be a what-if if we already beat them.
If Auburn was... The importance of the Auburn win was because everyone expected them to be good with the recruiting class that they had and Hugh Freeze in his second season. But if Auburn is worse, then my expectations move up for Cal. Now I'm saying, okay, Auburn shouldn't have been a coin flip or a loss like I had predicted. It should have been a win. Davis was a win. San Diego State is terrible. Florida State is awful. Like, we should have been 4-0. Now you're talking about Miami, you blow a 25-point lead. 5-0. You're talking about top 15, top 10 team, maybe top 10. I mean, we got to think about like what we are robbing ourselves of, because while I think we can finish strong and certainly hit our predictions, the reality of what this season has been easier than I would have thought. And therefore, we again didn't capitalize on the opportunity that presented itself. And that is a theme.
Yeah, I'm like half in agreement with you because I think it's more nuanced than that. It's more nuanced than just 5-0. It's the methods in which if we're winning 1 point, coin flip games and that's how we get to 5-0, then like that's a fraudulent 5-0 and a fraudulent top 10 team. Like we're only there because our record doesn't show a single loss.
Do you think Miami's a fraud?
Do I think Miami is a fraud?
Yeah.
I still don't think they're a top 10 team. I think they're going to lose at some point in the season. But that's just because of the tape I've watched on them, and I just think that some of their stuff is sustainable, particularly because, the two Power 5 teams that they've played have been coin flips, right? And they happen to win both on probably controversial calls, weirdly. So yeah, for me, it's way too early to look at that. In my eyes, it could be a what if situation of like we get to the end of the season and we're like 8-4, 9-3, and we're like, man, if we had just won one of the Miami or Florida State game, like we could be a 10-win team. Like that's kind of where my what if would go, but not in the sense of like this season is already going to be mediocre. Because if we get to 8 or 9 wins, and I was talking to Nam about this, like if we get to 8 or 9 wins, regardless of how we got there, that's gonna be the best Cal has finished since the Tedford era in terms of regular season wins.
Yeah, but like you also have to take into account. I think a lot of people look at that and will be like, "Well, your quality of opponent went way down."
But does it? But once again, I'm going to go back to your point. Does it matter as long as you win? Because you're saying like the 5-0 point of like the expectations changing, but we were 5-0. Like that's the exact rationale that I'm having here regarding that. Like, are we going to be upset of how we got to 9-3?
I mean, we're not going 9-3.
But what I'm saying, yeah, but that's my point. It's like, does it matter how we got to 9-3 as long as we get to 9-3?
Yes.
Wait.
If you got
wait. Yeah. So you're saying it does matter how?
I'm saying I'm a little lost.
Yeah.
But roll with me here.
Yeah.
If we're 9-3,
yeah,
and our strength of schedule,
yeah,
is 100,
sure,
or whatever the easiest, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Then I'm sitting there saying we should be 12-0. I'm not gonna knock the 9-3, but you're always gonna say you blew a 25-point game against Miami and you lost to a Florida State team that might only get one win on the season. You're always gonna go back and look at that and say, yeah, that is the difference, Rob, between college football playoff and not. You're definitely going to do that. And don't get me wrong, 9 wins would be amazing. I think people would be really stoked about it. But there's no way. Like, look at the way that people are looking at Pitt. They don't look at Pitt as like a 5-0 powerhouse.
Yeah. They're like, what are they ranked? Like 18th in the country, I think.
Yeah. So I think that no matter what now, you have to look at this season and say you adjust based on the quality of the opponent that has played you. And as the Auburn game has aged, it has moved from coin flipped, if not lost for me, into absolutely should have won. Florida State went from lost to
but that's
absolutely.
What I'm saying. But we won that game.
No. I agree. Look. All I'm saying is that game for me, as I'm doing my math right before the season to get to 8-4, I'm calling it a loss. Yes, you won the game, but now my floor is being raised by the play of the opponent that we're going against. So instead, if I'm revisiting myself and I'm like knocking on the window of Andy that was in DC on the pod with Trace and yourself, I'm saying Auburn is going to suck. Then, right? That's my little fairy voice.
Sure.
Then then I'm gonna go, okay, screw 8-4. I'm 9-3 because now Auburn's bad. All right, Florida State. Okay, Florida State's gonna suck. All right, I'm 10-2. You know what I mean? Like I'm adjusting. I'm trying to adjust based on how our opponents have looked over time. And I'm just saying that like there's no way that even if we get to 8 wins, let alone 9 wins, and we roll off one of the best finishes to the close of the season, don't get me wrong, I'll be on cloud 9, but there's no chance that I'm not coming back here and saying, what the hell would have happened had we not let that Miami game get away from us? What the hell would have happened had we not let the Florida State game get away from us against two teams like Miami looks good, but against Florida State, who looks terrible?
I think that's an absolutely valid point. Of course we're going to play the what if game after the season's over, depending on where we finish. But I'm just saying, like right now, I can't unequivocally say I'll have those questions because I don't know what these teams are going to look like at the end of the season too. Right.
I think we know what Florida State is going to look like.
That's what they said about us, and then we got to a bowl game. So like, I'm not saying that they're going to rattle off and run the table and get to the college playoffs, but like they might not by the season's end, we might not be saying that they're the bottom of the barrel team that we're seeing as of right now. Like they could easily make that push back up into that 5-6 range in the ACC, right? And then we're sitting there going, okay, like yeah, we were their first win, but ultimately they were still a talented team that we lost to.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't see it happening. If they had followed it up beating SMU or playing Clemson close, but they got whooped by Clemson, they got smashed by SMU, they got beat by Memphis, and we only scored 9 points. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I understand. And I also think this goes back to something that you said at the very beginning, which was when I said the Miami game and you immediately went, oh, just like the SC game of last year. I think we've seen this before. And it is a little bit like the Wilcox era is becoming the era of what if. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying we need to make a change. I'm just saying I can see why there's some folks that are tired of the what ifs because we keep giving ourselves the opportunity to take that next step and we keep declining at the peak moment to take it. And
I mean, that's the argument that a lot of the people that comment like we need to move on from Wilcox make, right?
Yeah.
They're basing it off of the history and the repetition of the inability to succeed in those moments.
Of the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tough game, bro.
It was a tough game.
I feel like your spirit is wounded. I've wounded your spirit.
No, I mean, once again, look.
I mean, you're like, Andy's panicked. Rob's not panicked.
I'm still not panicked. I for me, like the end goal has never changed, which was to get to 8 or 9 wins and have the most successful win-loss record that we've had since Tedford. And that I think that still remains the goal for me. So as long as that's not out of reach, it's not an end of the world situation for me. Or like a what if type of situation. I'll do that after the season.
How you lose matters so much. And blowing a 25
just as much
point,
as how you win. Yeah.
Right. And blowing the 25-point lead against Miami at home when it was like 2 a.m. body clock for them. I mean, it's just hard. And it's like the collective. It's just like, what are we doing? I don't understand what the identity of this team is if it's not to run the ball with a lead. I don't get it. I don't get it.
But we did. We did run the ball. But that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that's the point against what you're trying to make is just you're saying that this team isn't that, which would allude to that they passed instead of running when they needed to run. It's just they did run, just they couldn't. Like they didn't get any yards off of it. So
They were
by
unable.
definition,
I
either
don't. I mean, I still think like we should, if we want to be. I don't know. I feel like we should have those bruisers. We should have the O-line by now. We should have the running backs that when we're in a position, when we have a 25-point lead, I mean, dude, like we talk about Wilcox as literally a turtle, like turtling. We actually could have used just a solid little turtle with a run game.
this is what happens with us. You wanted the exact opposite, right? And then that's what we got out of Wilcox this entire season, and we've praised him for it.
What do you mean?
Like we wanted him to totally change his like MO of in games to be a bit more aggressive, right? To go chase the wins, right? To be aggressive on fourth down, to keep the pressure on the opponent, like keep the scores up, don't turtle. And he's been doing that all season. And then now it's like, but now we're like arguing this is the one game where we needed you to revert back to your old self.
Because we had a 25-point lead.
But for me, I'm like, that's exactly what he did. I'm not trying to defend him because he has his faults, but like it's not like he was throwing the ball. It's he kept the clock trying to go as much as he could, but the execution on the field for all the run plays was just not there. I from a game calling perspective, I don't know what more we could have done. It's not like we extended the game for Miami, right? By passing the ball and stopping the clock and then going 3 and out because we passed 3 incompletes and the clock went down 5 seconds. Like we were doing all the right things. It's just the execution didn't result in the gains that we needed to win the game.
It's crazy how little we possess the ball. It's crazy.
It was unsustainable after all of the explosive plays that we had.
So we had 22 pass attempts, or actually
Yeah.
24 if you include Chandler Rogers.
Yep.
And we had
Are you looking for sack adjusted running?
24 rushes.
Well, I mean, if you can't look at purely rushing because that includes sacks.
So okay,
sack adjusted yards
18.
rushed is 86. So an average of 3.7.
But we had 18 attempts if you don't count any of Fernando's rushes as attempts.
Yeah, but I mean he did run forward, but a few of those are sacks. So I'd have to.
I mean, we still passed more than we ran it.
How many total plays do we have? 40. We had 49 total plays. So it's like sample size is a little negligible.
I want to look at real quick.
I mean, they basically doubled our play count. They had 86 plays to our 49.
All right, 10:28 left. 1st and 10 at the Cal 25. What do you think we did? Pass or run?
Run.
Pass. Incomplete pass. Intended for
To
Jaden.
who? Was that the swing pass to Jaden? Oh, yeah, that was the swing pass to Jaden that he led him a little too far.
Yep.
Yep.
Next play, what do you think happened?
That was a pass.
Then we committed a 5-yard penalty. Delay game. Then we got a face mask, which was a gift.
Yep. And that's where I thought, okay, maybe we're going to win this.
Yeah.
The face mask was where I was like, maybe we're going to win this.
Run, sack, punt.
I honestly, like looking back at the play calling, I don't think I have much issues with that aspect of it. I think we did what we would have wanted them to do if it had just succeeded in the execution of the play. There's a couple of pass plays here that in that second quarter where I'm like, did you need to pass there? But in terms of the overall like theme of like when to run and when to pass, I was okay with it.
It's just kind of amazing. I mean, it's you go through this and it's really incredible. It's just Miami, end of third quarter, right? So Miami touchdown, then Cal field goal, Miami touchdown, Cal punt, Miami touchdown, Cal punt, Miami touchdown, interception, End of game.
Yeah. They're talented, man. And we gave them just enough of an opening for them to showcase their talent to get back into the game. Cameron Ward threw 53 times. Incredible. Like, we shut Damian Martinez down. He only had 42 yards. Like, all right. So, Andy, I think we talked about the game enough. I think we've toiled and pained our listeners enough about this game. Let's give our players of the game and let's move on.
Players of the game. Marcus Harris. I think he got hurt, yeah?
Maybe. Once again, we'll find out tomorrow.
He made some incredible plays in the secondary. Incredible plays. And then Jack Andrews.
Oh, that was my pick. Damn it.
It was awesome.
He had that touchdown run was great. And I have a great picture of him because he ran straight at me. It was amazing. I'll go with Cade. The guy was playing like a madman yesterday, on Saturday. Dude, 15 total tackles, 7 of which were solo. I have so many good pictures of Cade because he's lined up, middle linebacker. He's lined up like basically across from Cam Ward, right? And so since I'm behind Cam Ward, like I can zoom in on Cade's face. You want me to tell you how much of a sicko this man is in terms of playing middle linebacker? The dude's lined up against Cam Ward, and Cam Ward's like about to snap. The dude's smiling at him. Cade is smiling at the opposing quarterback, man. That's some sicko stuff. Like, it's kind of scary. I would be scared out of my mind if I looked across the line and the middle linebacker smiling at me. I'm like, oh, what is
Happy
about
Gilmore
to happen?
moment right there. Please don't hurt me.
So yeah, Cade, and then damn it, I was gonna pick Jack. I mean, the easy other pick here is Jet. Stellar game, in my opinion, as the number 2 running back, and he continues to improve week in and week out. I'm surprised that both of us didn't pick Noel, who had another interception and returned this one for a freaking tutty.
It was a horrible pass. Horrible pass.
Horrible pass. There's no reason you need to make that throw across your body, across the
for a prayer, and he could have gained like 3 yards on it. It made no sense. What is he doing?
I have no idea. But yeah, Noel, interception, 3 tackles. The dude is playing out of his mind
out of his mind.
now.
But that's the thing is, like, I thought Noel, there's a deep pass that they had, and it looked like the right wide receiver was wide open. I thought it was Noel that made that play, but it was Marcus Harris that came up and just his catch-up speed was incredible. Came across perfectly, timed the hit on the receiver, got his arm in there. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And that guy, those 2 guys are so good. You could take either one.
They're NFL bound for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. We had a long discussion about whether or not those 2, in terms of if you added them to the takers, would they have been the starting cornerbacks for the takers? And that's a fun thought experiment to have. But that's for another day. Andy, we look ahead to Pitt for a couple minutes before we close this out. You're going to be on a camping trip in the middle of nowhere. How are you going to consume the game? Are you going to watch it like when you get back?
I'm dead serious. I think I'm just going to take a week off.
So you'll just check the score when you get home, or like because we're gonna have to talk about the game, but it's like I have no idea what happened. Like I didn't even watch it. I don't even know what the score is. Like,
ignorance is bliss, my friend. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna watch the game when I get back, and 12:30 start, 5-0 Pitt. I don't know what to expect. I mean, after last week, it could go one of 2 ways. I guess I'm expecting a loss here. I'm thinking Cal will bottom out at 3-3 and then do the Wilcox recovery dance. We tend to do this every year. Sort of lose 3 in a row. We're in the storm, and then we battle our way out, and I'm proud of the guys for battling through the storm. I feel like we've lived it before, so not surprised if
You're right.
if we lose this one. But I think it's the thing. It seems like this team won't necessarily be blown out. I hope that's not a jinx or anything like that. But it certainly does seem like we're coached well enough to not be blown out in any game. But I don't know. For some reason, I'm just sort of looking at this one as an L. We're coming off a huge emotional loss and have to go all the way across the country again. And that's where I'm at. What about you?
I'll be at Tokyo Beer watching this with some folks. The actual Vegas line for this game is not that high. Vegas has Cal as the underdog by 2.5 points. So a field goal is basically what they're saying is the difference between this. For a top 15, for a top 20 team. Oh. Trying to reconnect?
Yep, you definitely left.
Oh, we're back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, internet's been spotty today. I think it's the heat. So yeah, I mean, they're only 2.5 underdogs, so we'll see. I still think Cal comes out of here with a win.
It'll be big.
So I'm in full belief
for
of
that.
that.
It'll be a big win.
It would be the bounce back game. Like, we talked about that the previous game for so long. This is the game where if it comes down to it, did you learn from the last two games? Did you learn from the first road trip game in ACC history for Cal in a hostile Florida State? Did you learn from playing a top 10 opponent and potentially having to win it with a lead? Have you learned from those experiences and can you build off of that? And if you're in that type of situation again, where you're either down by a touchdown close or you're up big against a top 10 opponent, can you do the opposite of what you did in those previous circumstances? This game might give you the opportunity to do both. And we'll learn a lot about this team this week. Right? All right. That's it for me. That's it for both of us. And as always, you can find us on Twitter at Golden Bearcast. Email us goldenbearcast@gmail.com. Ghost of Garbers, I hope you enjoyed your tickets in the field club. I clicked the button, but Andy said 3 times. So you got the tickets. And you can find all our written stuff at rightforcalifornia.com. And as always,
Go Bears.
Go Bears.